Listen to me now, because this is not just a video. You didn't come here by accident. You didn't stumble upon these words because of some algorithm. This isn't random. It's not just another post on your screen. This is your divine appointment. This is me, your Lord, your Redeemer, the one who formed you before the foundations of the world, speaking to you. The winds of heaven are stirring, and I am pressing my hand gently but firmly upon your heart. You've been wandering through the noise of this world, searching for clarity, asking me in silence, "What now? And when will I know what you've decided, Lord?" Well, this is that moment. This is my final decision, and I need you to hear it with every part of your being. There comes a moment when silence must break, not because I was absent, but because the moment has matured. I have seen your longing for answers, your desperate waiting, your silent whispers in the night asking, "Lord, where are you?" And while the heavens may have seemed quiet, my heart has never stopped thundering for you. There were things I held back, not out of indifference, but because the fullness of time had not yet come. But now, the heavens bend low, and I am speaking directly into the very core of your being. I've waited because I was preparing, aligning, molding you into someone who could not just receive what's next but carry it with strength and integrity. I held these words close to my heart because I knew once they were released, things would begin to shift around you quickly. This is not just a message. It is a moment that splits time in your life before and after. I am opening the scroll of my final decision for your journey, and nothing will ever be the same again. You've asked me to speak. Now I will. With love, with authority, with truth that cuts deeper than any fear, any doubt, or any lie that's tried to take root in you. I've heard every cry for confirmation echoing through your soul, every whispered prayer where you said, "Lord, just give me a sign." I didn't miss any of them. I didn't turn my face when you questioned. I drew closer. But clarity doesn't always come in the ways you expect. It doesn't always come with lightning in the sky or dramatic miracles at your feet. Sometimes it comes softly, wrapped in my voice, delivered through moments like this. Right now, as you hear these words, something deep inside you knows this is more than a message. It's me. It's the echo of heaven responding to your deepest questions. I am not a God of confusion. I am the God of revelation. When I speak, chains break. When I move, the earth aligns. I don't deal in half-way answers or cloudy visions. I bring clarity that pierces through uncertainty like a sword. You asked for a sign. This is your sign. You wanted to know if you were on the right path. I am guiding your feet. You asked me, should I wait or move? And I say now, move with me. You asked, should I hold on or let go? And I say, let go of what I never gave you and hold tightly to me. Let this settle once and for all. This moment is not man-made. It is me-made. And I've waited for just the right time to respond to you, not a second too soon or too late. This is my final answer, sealed in love, soaked in divine timing, and delivered straight to your heart. There is no room for delay anymore. What once required patience now demands obedience. I gave you a season to wait, a season to seek, a season to question. But that season has now transitioned. You no longer have to wonder where I stand or what my heart desires for you. I am raising my voice not out of anger, but out of love that refuses to let you miss what I have prepared. No longer am I tucking my will behind subtle nudges or quiet signs. I am standing in front of you, speaking clearly, firmly, directly, because your destiny cannot afford another moment of doubt. The battles you faced, the tests you endured, the confusion that clouded your vision, none of it was wasted. But now, I draw a clear line in the sand. You must choose if you will follow where I lead, without waiting for more confirmation, without asking for extra assurance. I've already revealed what needs to be seen. I've already whispered enough to stir your spirit. Now I declare it with undeniable clarity. It's time to rise. It's time to trust me in action, not just intention. My voice will not compete with the noise around you, it will rise above it. You don't need to sort through every voice anymore. You know the sound of my spirit. I've trained you to discern me. You've learned me in your suffering, and now I am commissioning you into your sending. No more waiting rooms. No more paused dreams. No more maybe later. I'm not asking you to figure it all out. I'm asking you to follow what I have already spoken, without compromise, without delay. I am not whispering anymore. I'm roaring with purpose, and you are the one I'm calling forward. You wondered why things took so long. You questioned the pauses, the stillness, the unexplainable waiting. You looked at others racing ahead while you sat with open hands and a quiet soul, asking me why I was so silent when you were so desperate. But child, what you saw at delay, I was using as design. You were never being denied. You were being prepared. Every prayer that seemed to hang unanswered in the air was actually being carried by angels into the courts of heaven, where I was arranging things beyond your understanding. I didn't forget your voice, I was framing your future. While you stood still, I was moving mountains that would have crushed you if you walked too soon. While you wept alone, I was clearing out traps that would have harmed you had you stepped forward without my timing. The weighty was never punishment, with preservation. You think I wasted time, but I was redeeming it. You think I was holding you back, but I was holding you together. You think I wasn't listening, but I was listening more intently than you could imagine. I allowed you to feel the ache so you'd learn to trust me beyond feelings. I allowed the silence to stretch so your faith would expand with it. The long nights, the dry seasons, the moments of despair, they were all bricks in the foundation I was building beneath you. Without them, what's coming wouldn't stand. But now, that foundation is strong enough to carry what I'm about to place upon it. Every delay has done its work. Every silence has served its purpose. Every moment you thought was void was actually full of me working on your behalf. And now, the silence breaks, the waiting ends, the fog clears. All of it led here, this moment where I unveil my final decision. A decision crafted in eternity, shaped by mercy, and stamped with your name. You must know that nothing about your journey escaped my attention, not one moment passed unnoticed. Every time you wept quietly behind closed doors, I was near, collecting each tear like treasure, because your pain mattered to me more than you can comprehend. When you chose to remain faithful even while everything inside you was breaking, I took note. I recorded the strength it took for you to get out of bed, to smile through the ache, to worship when you didn't have answers. The nights you stayed awake asking me questions I didn't answer right away weren't wasted, they became sacred pages in the book I've written about your life. And every sacrifice you made, the ones nobody clapped for, the ones that cost you your peace, your comfort, your reputation, I counted each one. They were seeds, not losses. You thought they vanished in the ground, but I've been watering them with my presence ever since. Not one act of obedience was overlooked. Not one decision to choose me over ease went unseen. I watched you give when you had little, love when you weren't loved back, and believe when belief felt fragile. And I never let any of it fall to the ground void. I was building something eternal out of every unseen offering. While others judged you by your outer circumstances, I was weighing the condition of your heart, the motives behind your actions, and the purity of your intentions. And now, my decision is shaped by that holy record, by the moments when you walked with me in quiet surrender, when no spotlight was shining, when you didn't have applause or assurance. I saw you. I still do. You've been searching for proof that what you gave mattered, and I'm here to show you that it did. This decision I'm releasing isn't based on public image, popularity, or performance. It's based on intimacy. I know you. I've seen your character tested in fire. I've watched your soul wrestle, and I've seen you cling to me when letting go would have been easier. My choice is rooted in that quiet courage. So when you receive what's coming, don't call it luck. Don't credit fate. Don't even call it breakthrough. Call it recognition. Call it fulfillment of what I witnessed when nobody else did. You were faithful in what felt like a furnace, and now I am declaring that the fire refined, not destroyed. The promotion coming isn't from the world, it's from my hand. You didn't manufacture it with striving. It was born from surrender. My final decision is wrapped in every moment you remained true, every time you chose humility when you could have demanded recognition, every time you forgave when bitterness knocked at your door. I've weighed it all, and now the scales tip in your favor, not because of what you gained, but because of how you endured. There were moments when the shadows around you felt like they were closing in, when panic came knocking louder than peace, and the weight of what-ifs nearly crushed your hope. But in those moments, I saw you reach for me, not because it was easy, not because you had all the answers, but because something inside you still believed that I was enough. I saw how fear tried to wrap itself around your thoughts like chains, whispering lies about your future, about your worth, about your ability to overcome. But instead of giving in, you lifted trembling prayers. Your voice may have been weak, but your trust was loud in heaven. The battlefield wasn't always visible to others, but I was there, watching the war inside your heart, the one between despair and belief. You didn't know it then, but those quiet victories where you chose to trust me despite your terror shifted things in the spiritual realm. Your faith, even when it felt small, was more powerful than you realized. I never asked you to be fearless, I only asked you to turn toward me when fear came. And you did. Did it again. In rooms where you sat alone, in car rides with tears in your eyes, in silent moments where you said, "God, I don't understand, but I still choose you." Those moments shook the heavens. You didn't know that angels were dispatched every time you said my name instead of giving into anxiety. You did know that when you chose to keep going, even with a trembling heart, you were walking in victory. I watched how you silenced the chaos in your thoughts by worshiping me in whispers. I saw how you pulled scriptures into your memory like lifelines, even when everything around you contradicted what I had promised. And because of that, I want you to hear this. I was proud of you then. Not because you were perfect, but because you were persistent. The strength you showed in believing me when fear was louder, that is what moves my heart. That is what drew me closer. You fought for peace in the middle of mental storms. You took hold of my promises like a sword, not letting go even when it looked like nothing was changing. That kind of trust is rare, and I don't take it lightly. My decision today is shaped by how you kept saying yes to me when fear gave you 1,000 reasons to say no. You've earned nothing, yet you've proven everything because you held on to me when it didn't make sense. So now, I'm holding open doors that once seemed sealed shut. I'm bringing answers where there was confusion and calm where there was chaos. You don't have to fight to prove yourself anymore. I've already seen what I needed to see. You chose me in the middle of the storm, and now I am walking you into the stillness. Not because the enemy gave up, but because I said, "That's enough." This is your reward, not for perfection, but for perseverance. I saw how fear tried to write the end of your story, but you placed the pen back in my hands. And now, watch what I do with your trust. When the winds howled and the ground beneath you trembled, you could have run. You could have broken under the weight of pressure, fear, and discouragement. Everything around you told you to abandon your position, to flee, to hide, to give up on what I had promised. The voices of doubt became louder, circumstances tried to drown you in confusion, and chaos pressed against your peace like relentless waves. But you didn't collapse. You didn't compromise. You planted your feet in faith and refused to retreat. I watched you endure days where nothing seemed certain, yet you chose to remain rooted in me. You didn't chase temporary relief. Instead, you waited on me to calm the storm. You could have forced open doors in your own strength, but instead, you surrendered the timeline to me. That kind of restraint, holy endurance in the face of pressure, is no small thing. I saw it. I honored it. And I am building my next move on top of it. You may not have realized it at the time, but every time you stood when it would have been easier to collapse, you were testifying of who I am to the unseen world. Your refusal to move outside of my will became an act of worship. Your stillness in the middle of uncertainty was louder than 1,000 songs. While others scrambled for answers, You chose to trust in my silence. That is not weakness, it's spiritual maturity. You stopped demanding signs and began anchoring yourself in my character. You learned that I am not just the God who delivers, but the God who sustains. You proved that you were not just seeking results, you were seeking me. And that seeking, that steadfastness, even when you felt weary, became your offering. I built temples out of less. Because standing still isn't passive, it's warfare. It's declaring, I will not be moved, when everything in the natural says you should fall. And now, because you stood firm, I am releasing things that could only be given to someone who wouldn't waver. I needed to see if you could be trusted to wait when the clock seemed loud and the answers felt distant. And you passed the test, not with perfect grace, but with unwavering commitment. You chose stillness over panic, worship over worry, trust over turmoil. That is where transformation takes place, not in the easy moments, but in the sacred standoff between fear and faith. Now I say to you, because you stood still, I am going to move on your behalf. You don't need to fight for what's already yours. You don't need to chase down what I've already set into motion. Stand still a little longer, and watch the winds change direction. Watch how the very storm that tried to knock you down will become the testimony that lifts you up. You stood still, and now I stand with you. There was a night, wasn't there? A night where everything inside you screamed for release from the weight you were carrying. The kind of night when the world felt like it had turned its back, and the voices around you faded into silence, leaving you alone with your thoughts and me. I remember that moment not just vaguely, not distantly, but with holy detail. I saw the heaviness pressing against your chest, the hopelessness curling itself around your thoughts, the ache that made your breathing feel like a burden. I watched as you sat still, wrestling between surrendering to the darkness or reaching for my hand, even if it felt invisible. And in that sacred space, where you could have quit, you did something heaven cannot forget. You held on. Not because you saw light at the end of the tunnel, but because something deep inside you whispered, don't let go of him. And you didn't. That grip, though weak, though desperate, was everything. I saw your soul trembling, your heart pounding with questions that had no immediate answers, but you still chose to lean into me when letting go seemed easier. You didn't shout in faith that night. You didn't prophesy your future. You just clung to the last thread of me that you could feel, and that was enough. That moment, child, was more powerful than you understand. All of heaven paused. Angels stood still. Because what you did was more than survival, it was surrender. It was raw, broken trust. The kind of trust that doesn't come from perfect theology or spiritual high points, but from a relationship forged in the fire of real life. You didn't have strength to stand, but you didn't walk away either. At night marked something eternal between us. You thought it was weakness, but I saw it as the purest form of love, because you chose me when you could have chosen silence. You stayed connected, even if all you had was a whisper and a tear. And now, I carry that memory in my heart. It speaks louder than your loudest praise. At night, when you almost let go, you proved something you still don't fully grasp. Your roots in me run deeper than the storm that tried to uproot you. I use that moment as a reference point, not to shame you, but to remind you how brave you truly are. You didn't need applause or visible proof of victory to keep believing. You just needed me, and even in silence, I was there. At night, I sent angels to surround your space. I hovered over you with a protective love. You didn't feel me, but I was near, closer than your breath. That moment matters to me. I measure your endurance not by how loud your faith sounds in victory, but how sincerely you trust me when you feel like you're falling apart. And you trusted me, even if your grip was shaking. That is why my decision now includes restoration of what you lost in those dark hours. I'm returning strength where it drained, replacing the weight you carried with blessings you didn't expect. You may not have shouted through the storm, but you survived it with me. And now, I am turning the page. The night you nearly gave up will not be the end of your story. It will be the foundation for the glory I'm about to reveal in your life. While your heart wandered through the shadows and your thoughts fought battles beneath your smile, I never once stepped away. In those wordless stretches of time when it seemed like heaven was far, when your prayers felt like they dissolved into the ceiling, when your soul was begging for a whisper and received none, I was right there. I did not leave you to figure it out alone. I walked beside you, matching your steps, even when your strength barely carried you forward. You looked around for signs, for sensations, for anything that might remind you I was close, and when you felt none, the enemy tried to convince you that you had been abandoned. But child, I was there in every breath you didn't notice, in every tear that fell without explanation, in every moment when you sat in silence, too tired to ask again. You thought I was distant, but I was never more attentive than in those still hours. I surrounded you when you didn't know I had. I spoke to your spirit in ways your ears couldn't catch, sustaining you without fanfare or spectacle. You didn't realize that the peace that kept slipping into your heart despite the pressure, the inner calm that held you from breaking, was me holding you up from within. You assumed I was waiting for you to figure everything out, but truly, I was carrying the weight you couldn't put into words. I became your unseen shelter, your invisible defense, your quiet protector. The reason you're still standing isn't because of your strength, it's because of my nearness. I never required you to sense me in order for me to be there. I'm not limited by feelings or sounds. I abide with you whether you feel me or not. Your spirit recognized me even when your mind could not. In the silence, I wasn't punishing you, I was teaching you to trust beyond senses. I was building a connection that wasn't dependent on outcomes, voices, or visions. I wanted you to know me not just as the miracle worker or the promise giver, but as the God who sits in your silence without leaving. I needed you to experience my presence, not through spectacle, but through subtlety. Because the kind of relationship I'm forming with you doesn't shift with emotion, it's rooted in truth. And the truth is, I was closer than the air in those quiet nights. I heard every word you didn't say. I caught the prayers you never got to finish. I understood the sighs you released into the darkness. And I responded not with loud answers, but with preservation. You see, there are battles you never had to face because I blocked them before they reached you. There are burdens you never had to carry because I absorbed them without announcing it. I did speak in those moments because I was acting on your behalf. I was tending to your soul in places no one else could access. What you call silence, I call sacred work. You weren't forgotten, you were being fortified. You weren't lost, you were being hidden in me. I've been with you every step, not just when things felt holy, but when they felt hopeless. And now, because you endured the silence with me, I am ushering you into a season where my voice will be unmistakable, where my hand will be visible, where my presence will not just be known but undeniably experienced. The time of quiet shaping is giving way to revealed glory. You didn't walk alone. You never did. And now, I will make known what I have been forming in secret beside you all along. Every scattered moment of your journey, the heartbreaks, the detours, the unexplainable delays, the people who came and went, the opportunities that dissolve it, the doors that slammed shut without warning, none of it escaped my divine orchestration. While you wondered if life was falling apart, I was quietly gathering every fragment. I was not absent. I was arranging. I wasn't passive, I was active in ways too deep for you to detect at the time. My silence wasn't withdrawal, it was strategy. I was forming something eternal from the very moments that made you feel like everything was unraveling. You thought you were being forgotten. But really, I was building something in the background so intricate, so intentional, that only time could reveal its beauty. Your story has always mattered to me, not just the victories, but the breaking points. I collected the disappointments and laid them like bricks, one by one, shaping a foundation not of failure, but of future. Every unanswered prayer wasn't a rejection, it was redirection. Every path that seemed to lead nowhere was a carefully placed step toward something greater than you imagined. I didn't give you everything you asked for, not because I wanted to deprive you, but because I wanted to give you more than you knew to request. And while it looked like nothing was working, I was carefully fitting every shattered piece into the masterpiece I had in mind from the beginning. I saw what you couldn't, how the pain from one season would become the preparation for the next. I knew how the delay in one area would protect you from a greater danger ahead. I recognized which relationships had to end so you wouldn't be tied to people who couldn't carry the weight of where I'm taking you. You didn't understand why things kept slipping through your hands, but I was never letting them fall. I was removing what couldn't remain. I have never been careless with your life. Every experience, every moment of confusion, every no you received, every place where you were forced to start again, I allowed it only because I was preparing something so perfectly aligned that even you would stand in awe when it unfolds. I was never just watching from afar. I was actively gathering what the enemy tried to scatter. I was piecing together your purpose behind the scenes, taking what others discarded and weaving it into something holy. You wanted quick answers, but I was building an unshakable outcome. You wanted resolution, but I was crafting transformation. And now, the season of collecting, ranging, and restoring is reaching its completion. My decision is not based on a single moment. It's built on everything I've gathered along the way. I took into account your perseverance, your resilience, your quiet loyalty when it seemed like you had no reason to keep believing. I included the things you thought were forgotten. I counted the moments you chose me when it cost you something. And I wove it all together into this moment, this final decision. You didn't miss anything. What was yours, I preserved. What was needed, I retrieved. What was broken, I mended in my own way. And now, I'm ready to unfold what has been hidden. The chapter that comes next is not the beginning of your story, it's the unveiling of what I've been preparing from the very first word. Trust me when I say nothing was wasted. Every piece is now in my hands, and I do not make mistakes. What I am about to release will make sense of what never did. You've looked at your life and wondered why certain paths twisted unexpectedly, why some chapters closed without warning, and why the answers you longed for seemed to arrive through unfamiliar roads. But child, nothing I allow or deny happens by accident. I do not roll dice over your future. I don't guess, I don't experiment, and I don't operate within the chaos of human unpredictability. My choices for you are not reactions, they are revelations. They come from a depth of knowledge far beyond what you could see, woven into the very fabric of eternity before time began. My love isn't seasonal, isn't fickle. It doesn't shift depending on your performance, your mood, or your surroundings. Every move I make concerning you has already passed through the filter of perfect wisdom and endless compassion. Before you ever spoke your first word, I had already spoken over your destiny. I've seen every possibility, every outcome, every ripple your decisions could cause, and still, I chose you. Still, I placed purpose inside of you. Still, I made a plan not just to use your strength but to redeem your weakness. And now, you're standing in a sacred moment, not shaped by chance, but by careful orchestration. I've looked across the span of eternity and selected this very time to bring clarity into your life. I don't work with confusion. I work with precision. I don't act out of pressure. I move from eternal perspective. So when I say, this is my final decision, I mean it is the outcome of everything I've weighed through the lens of unchanging truth. You've been tempted to believe that life is random, that blessings come and go without meaning, that hardships have no context, but I am the God of order, not disorder. I'm not building your life in pieces, I'm unfolding it in divine sequence. You might not see the patterns yet, but I promise, they are there. I've layered every joy, every trial, every connection, and every loss with intention. I've aligned people to meet you at just the right time. I've closed doors you begged me to open because I saw the pain they would bring. I've opened windows when you thought you were sealed in darkness. All of it is part of something more eternal than this moment. And that's what I need you to trust. My love is not just emotional, it's strategic. It doesn't just feel, it foresees. That's why I chose to wait on certain blessings until your spirit was ready to carry them without collapsing. That's why I allowed refining when you asked for relief, because I was growing something deeper inside you than you were aware of. Now the time has come for you to understand. What is happening in your life next is not some random act of kindness, it is the visible expression of my eternal affection. It's the moment when what I've decided in heaven is revealed on earth. I know the way forward, and it's one I've personally designed, not one I've outsourced or improvised. You don't need to second guess anymore. You don't need to ask if I'm sure. I've already seen the end, and I'm walking you toward it with deliberate, unwavering love. You may not always understand my timing or my methods, but you can always trust my motives. They never change you. They never will. You were loved before you could earn it. You were chosen before you ever knew me. And now you are being positioned to live out what I've always seen in you. This decision is not based on randomness, it is the revelation of love that spans beyond time. While people around you looked only at the surface, I searched deeper. They saw your actions, but I saw your intentions. They made conclusions based on their limited perception, but I examined the hidden reasons behind your choices, the ones too complex for words, too private for conversation. I knew when your heart was heavy even as your face smiled. I discerned when you served others out of pure devotion, not for praise or recognition. And I noticed when you loved without expecting anything in return. Many around you were quick to judge what they could not understand. Some assumed they knew your story, others misunderstood your silence, and some even questioned your loyalty when they saw you step away to protect your peace. But I knew what really drove you. I knew the nights you cried after forgiving someone who never apologized. I knew the courage it took to walk away from what you once prayed for, because you realized it no longer carried my blessing. I saw the way you resisted the urge to speak back, choosing grace over retaliation. These moments weren't grand on the outside, but to me, they were monumental. They told me everything I needed to know about your heart. Your character was proven not in stages or spotlights, but in stillness and restraint. The world may not have given you the credit you deserve it, but I was taking notes in eternity. You've often wondered, does it even matter if no one sees? And I tell you now it matters more than you know, because I saw. Every unseen decision to honor me in private will soon manifest in public favor. I knew when you were taken for granted. I saw when your loyalty was met with betrayal, when your kindness was mistaken for weakness, and when your silence was interpreted as guilt. But I also knew the integrity behind your quiet choices. I understood the long internal battles you fought to keep your heart pure when bitterness wanted to settle in. I saw when you extended grace even when your own soul was aching. And all of that, every unseen motive shaped by righteousness, is not gonna noticed. My final decision is not influenced by public opinion or the misunderstandings of others. I don't weigh your future in the court of human approval. I weigh it against your obedience, your sincerity, your willingness to be faithful when no applause followed. I'm not moved by outward appearances, I'm moved by the posture of your heart. And yours has bent toward me, again and again, even when the pressure to please others pulled at you. Now I'm stepping in as your defender. I will bring to light what others refuse to see. I will vindicate what was visit, and I will restore what was taken. This is not for revenge, it's for validation of what I always knew about you. No longer will you carry the burden of misjudgment. I'm lifting the weight of those false impressions, and I'm declaring over you. I see clearly, and my vision never fails. What I'm about to release will be undeniable evidence that you were always in the right place, with the right heart, even when others didn't acknowledge it. I saw the sacrifice behind your silence, the strength in your restraint, the honor in your humility. And now I'm ready to honor you in return, not because you demanded it, but because you trusted me to do it my way. My final decision is shaped by what only I could see, and it will answer questions you never thought would be resolved. You may have wondered why the pressure was so relentless, why the trials came one after another like waves with no pause. You asked me why I allowed the heat to rise, why I didn't step in sooner, why I let the fire surround you when you were already weary. But now you must understand. What looked like punishment was actually the process of revealing what had been placed within you from the very beginning. I never set out to destroy you. I already knew your strength. I knew the resilience I planted within you, the faith that would rise when everything else fell, the quiet defiance against darkness that only surfaced when light seemed absent. These tests were not designed to diminish you, they were meant to uncover what your comfort could not reveal. Just as gold must pass through intense flames to be refined, I allowed you to walk through seasons that felt too heavy, not because you were weak, but because you were chosen. I knew the magnitude of the assignment over your life, and I also knew that ease would never equip you to carry it. So I let the pressure build, not to harm you, but to pull out the depth of purpose that needed activation. The disappointment wasn't random, it was targeted to reveal your loyalty. The closed doors were never cruel, they were opportunities for you to discover that your faith was not dependent on open ones. And through every hardship, every moment you thought would break you in half, something beautiful was happening beneath the pain. You were becoming. You were becoming more than what others expected, more than what you thought you were capable of, more than what your past tried to label you as. I was shaping someone unshakable, someone who wouldn't just carry blessings but steward them. I was building in you the kind of endurance that doesn't waver under pressure and the kind of hope that doesn't bend in the presence of delay. You didn't always recognize the strength forming inside of you, but I did. I saw the grit it took to show up again after everything fell apart. I saw the depth of your yes when everything in you wanted to walk away. I saw how you kept your heart soft when bitterness tried to make a home in you. And all of that, child, all of it was proof. Proof that what I placed inside you wasn't shallow. Proof that you didn't crumble, you adapted. That you didn't give up, you recalibrated. That you didn't walk away, you walked deeper. The tests were loud, yes, but the growth they produced in you spoke louder in heaven. I didn't test you to learn something about you I already knew. I tested you so you would learn something about me and about yourself. You now know you are stronger than you believed, more anchored than you appeared, and far more capable of carrying glory than you ever imagined. This next season you're stepping into is not just a reward, it's a reflection. It's the visible evidence of the internal victories no one clapped for. My final decision is not just about opening doors, it's about confirming your readiness. And you, my beloved, are ready. Ready not just to receive but to reign. Ready not just to step forward but to stand tall. Ready not just to carry favor, but to walk in authority. What tried to break you only proved that you can't be broken when you're held by me. The testing is over. The proving is complete. And now comes the unveiling of what the fire refined. Everything I am doing now reaches beyond the present moment. This is not simply about giving you relief for what you've endured, or answers for the questions you've carried. It is about establishing what comes next, your tomorrow, your legacy, your next chapter in my divine timeline. I do not just move for the sake of fixing what has been broken. I move to plant something that will last beyond the fleeting hours of today. My decision concerning your life is not a temporary blessing that fades with time. It is the beginning of a new dimension of purpose that will stretch far past this current season. I've taken into account not just your present condition, but also the impact your life will carry into future spaces, into people's hearts, into generations not yet born. I am not reactive, I am prophetic. I see what's coming long before it arrives, and I position you accordingly. What I'm doing now is for the days you haven't seen, the doors you haven't touched, the people you haven't even met. My decision is not simply about giving you what you lost, it's about preparing you to handle what's ahead. You see the immediate. I see the eternal. You look at your calendar. I look at your calling. I am not trying to patch your past. I am laying a foundation for where I'm taking you. Every step I'm asking you to take now is tied to what I've already ordained in your future. I am putting weight behind your footsteps. I am strengthening your voice, not just to speak now, but to influence atmospheres in rooms you don't yet know you'll enter. The clarity I'm giving you is not just for decision-making in this season, but for vision casting in the next. The relationships I'm aligning, the resources I'm releasing, the favor I'm preparing, they all have roots that stretch into your future. I'm not just providing enough for today's need. I'm equipping you for tomorrow's assignment. What's ahead of you requires more than provision, it requires vision. And I am the one who gives both. Don't be surprised when I begin to separate you from things that no longer match where you're going. Some attachments were only meant for a chapter that has now closed. My decision will start to shift your surroundings. People, patterns, and even preferences will begin to evolve, not because you're changing aimlessly, but because I'm aligning you with what your future requires. The dreams I've placed in your spirit weren't random, they were previews. Glimpses of what I had in mind all along. You were never meant to stay stuck in cycles of survival. I am calling you into forward movement, into purpose that unfolds with every obedient step. Don't anchor yourself to what only made sense in the past. I am giving you new instructions for new territory. Just as I gave my people manna for the day and strategy for the land, I am giving you substance for now and blueprints for tomorrow. You may not see all the details, but you will sense the direction. That stirring you feel, that holy discontent, that sense that you were made for more, it's not your imagination. It's me awakening you to what's coming. My final decision has a ripple effect. It will touch places in your life you didn't even realize were waiting for fulfillment. It will open paths you didn't know existed. It will lead to encounters that shift the trajectory of everything familiar. I am not just setting you free from your past, I am sending you into a future where my glory will be revealed through your life. So walk boldly, not because you know every step, but because you trust the one who has already walked ahead. Your tomorrow is not a mystery to me. It's a masterpiece in progress. And this moment, this decision is the doorway to everything I've prepared for the days yet to come. When the familiar begins to feel uncomfortable, when the places you once found peace start to feel tight, when what once fit your life begins to fall apart at the seams, it isn't chaos, it's me. I'm not shaking your life to harm you. I'm shifting it to realign you with the purpose I placed within you before the foundations of the world. This divine adjustment may feel sudden, even unsettling at times, but trust me, it is necessary. You've outgrown some spaces, some roles, and even some relationships that once served you. I've allowed you to remain in those places for a time, not because they were permanent, but because they were preparation. But now, I'm calling you to move. Not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. This is not a time for settling, it is a time for a positioning. There are things I need to loosen in your life to make room for what I've ordained to take root. If I let you stay where you are too long, you would begin to identify more with your surroundings than with your assignment. That's why you've started to feel the holy discomfort. An unease isn't a sign of failure, it's a signal of transition. I'm shifting the foundation because I'm about to build something new. And anything not anchored in me cannot remain standing. This move is not random. I've timed it with precision, and I'm only shaking what must be shaken so that what is unshakable can remain. You may not recognize all the signs right now, but later you'll look back and see how every change brought you closer to my intention. I am removing what could no longer carry you into your next season. I'm disrupting patterns that would have quietly kept you small. I'm exposing what needed to be seen so that truth could lead you forward. Even in your confusion, I'm present. Even when your plans crumble, my hand is steady. You asked me to guide you, and this is how I lead, sometimes not through doors opening, but through foundations shifting. When I disrupt, it's not to leave you in pieces. It's to reorder everything around you according to my divine pattern. I want you to walk in alignment, not with comfort, not with public opinion, not with your old way of thinking, but with me. Alignment means moving with my spirit, even when it means letting go of what you once clung to. It means releasing old definitions of success so you can receive heaven's version of significance. It means saying yes to things that may not make sense on paper, but are in perfect sync with my will. The ground beneath you may tremble, but you are not being buried, you are being replanted. I'm moving you from shallow soil to deeper places. I'm giving you stronger roots, clear direction, and a foundation that won't fracture under pressure. What looks like instability is actually the beginning of divine structure. And soon, what felt like loss will reveal itself as positioning. What you thought was being removed was actually making room for greater capacity. I am shifting everything not to punish you, but to protect the promises I've placed inside you. You're stepping into a season that demands alignment at a higher level. There's no room for distraction, no tolerance for detours. I am bringing your life into full agreement with my design, and that means everything that's not aligned must be adjusted. So don't fear the tremors. Don't resist the pull. Let me move you. Let me anchor you again, not in the things of this world, but in my presence, my promises, and my plan. You are not losing stability, you are gaining direction. And when the dust settles, you'll see that I wasn't shaking your life apart, I was setting you exactly where you were always meant to be. There were chapters in your life that served a purpose, but their time has passed. I know there were places you once called home that slowly became places of pain. People who once brought joy began to drain your peace. Patterns you thought were manageable slowly wrapped around your soul and tried to pull you back into cycles I had already called you out of. And now, hear me clearly, you are not going back. The door to that chapter is not just closed, it is sealed. I'm not giving you the option to return to what once wounded you, even if part of you still wonders whether it could be different this time. It won't be. It was never designed to follow you into this next season. What you thought was security was actually keeping you stuck. What you tried to fix was never yours to carry forever. You asked me for healing, for clarity, for transformation, and this is part of the answer. I've ended access to what tried to keep you broken. You may feel the pull of familiarity, the temptation to revisit what once felt safe, even if it was dysfunctional. But I'm protecting you by making retreat impossible. That's not cruelty, it's mercy. I love you too much to let you repeat what nearly destroyed your spirit. I love you too much to watch you settle for less just because it's known. The reason it doesn't feel right anymore is because it isn't yours anymore. I've disconnected you, not because you failed, but because you've grown. You don't belong in the place where you had to shrink your voice, your dreams, your boundaries. You're not the same person who tolerated what you used to excuse. You've evolved through the fire, matured through the struggle, and now you carry a discernment that will not let you tolerate the same weight again. You were never meant to revolve in circles. I created you to move forward in purpose. That's why I shut down the things you tried to keep alive. That's why the doors you knocked on didn't reopen. I know it stung at first. I know it felt like loss. But what you didn't see is how I placed my hand on the handle and turned the lock myself. I made sure that what hurt you can't claim you again. I severed the ties with wisdom, not anger. I released you not to leave you wandering, but to lead you into a place where you can breathe again, stand again, build again. You thought maybe with more effort, more patience, more time, it could work. But I'm telling you, my child, what's behind you is not compatible with what's ahead. You've crossed a spiritual threshold. What once held you captive no longer has permission. The memories may surface, but they will no longer have mastery. The emotions may stir, but they will not dictate your direction. I am covering your past with grace, but I am calling your future into full motion. The exit was necessary. The door is sealed not with regret, but with divine finality. You will not revisit those ruins. You will not rebuild on broken ground. I am taking you higher, and that means elevation must be accompanied by release. Let the former things remain behind. I have already gone ahead to prepare new spaces, with new voices, new opportunities, and fresh oil that matches your current calling. The atmosphere you are walking into does not resemble the one you left, and that is by design. I've not only delivered you, I've secured your freedom. You won't need to fight to stay out of that place again because I have made the way impassable. What was behind you is behind you for good. My final decision includes your forward movement and your permanent release from the places that broke you. You are not going back. And what's coming is far better than what you had to leave. There are moments when absence feels louder than presence, when the people you thought would stay slowly drift away, when doors you were excited to walk through suddenly slam shut without explanation, when connections fade and plans dissolve without warning. And in those moments, it's easy to question yourself. It's tempting to wonder what you did wrong, what you miss, or if something in you wasn't enough. But I want you to know this: none of it was a mistake. The exits you didn't expect and the closures you didn't ask for were not accidents, they were divine eliminations. I removed what looked good but wasn't grounded in me. I allowed distance to form with people whose presence would have derailed the calling I've placed on your life. Some opportunities only appeared to be blessings, but I could see the burden they would have carried had they unfolded. I'm not only the God who opens doors, I'm the one who guards your path. And sometimes, the greatest mercy I can give you is protection disguised as rejection. You prayed for alignment, didn't you? You asked for my will to be done. And that means I had to subtract what could not stay, what would eventually harm your growth, what would cloud your focus, or distract your devotion. The truth is, some relationships were built on conditional loyalty. Some open doors led to paths I never authored. Some partnerships had hidden agendas you couldn't see, but I did. I saw the unseen. I heard the conversations behind closed doors. I perceived intentions long before they ever unfolded. And because I love you, I made the decision to allow separation before sabotage could take place. I let disappointment visit, not to destroy your hope, but to refine your discernment. I let silence settle after the goodbye so you could hear my voice more clearly than theirs. You didn't lose anything essential. I removed what was seasonal. I made sure that what remains in your life now has been sifted through my wisdom and shaped by my love. I know it hurt. I know the unanswered texts, the vanishing support, the promises broken without cause wounded your spirit. But I want you to see it differently now, not as abandonment but as preservation. You were never truly alone. You were simply being repositioned. I was detaching you from anchors that could not hold you in the waters I'm about to lead you through. The weight they carried would have slowed you down. The mindset they lived in could not travel with the revelation I am giving you. Some of them were tied to old versions of you, versions that no longer exist. And so, they left, or the opportunity dissolved. And instead of rebuilding what I allowed to end, I need you to release it completely. Don't try to reopen what I've shut. Don't chase after what's already exited. Don't beg for access to what I've revoked. I am not punishing you. I'm preparing you. And part of that preparation meant clearing the path of distractions disguised as destiny. Trust me when I tell you, what's ahead does not require who and what was removed. What I'm about to place in your life will be built on truth, not manipulation, honor, not compromise, longevity, not convenience. The people who will walk with you into this next season will not just clap for your victories, they will carry your vision when you feel weary. The opportunities that will arise will not just excite your emotions, they will challenge and fulfill your soul. I am not replacing what left, I am upgrading what's coming. And soon you'll look back and thank me for every closed chapter, every person who walked away, every yes that turned into a no. You'll realize I never took anything from you, I only made room for what was truly yours. And that, beloved, is part of my final decision. There are things that glitter in this world, people, positions, opportunities that seem to align with your prayers, but not all that appears good is truly from my hand. You see only the outside. I see the depth of what's beneath. You were drawn to certain things because they promised comfort, stability, or validation, but I saw what would have come attached to them. I looked beyond the smile, beyond the presentation, beyond the opportunity. I saw the fine print you couldn't read. I saw the strings that would have tied your soul to compromise. I saw the delays it would cause in your purpose. So I removed it not to withhold joy, but to preserve your destiny. I intervened quietly, almost invisibly, pulling it away before it had the chance to take root in your life. I know it felt like a loss at first. You may have questioned me, wondering why something that seemed right slipped through your fingers. You may have wrestled with the disappointment, asking if you'd missed a moment or failed to recognize my leading. But the truth is, I stepped in because you trusted me to guide you even when the path wasn't clear. You gave me permission when you surrendered and said, "Your will be done." And I took that seriously. I protected you from distractions that wore the disguise of destiny. I covered you from entanglements that would have cost you more than you realized. I intercepted opportunities that looked promising but would have poisoned your purpose. There were connections that could have drained your spirit slowly, environments that would have dimmed your light gradually. I didn't allow them to flourish, not because I was punishing you, but because I was shielding you. You may have seen potential, but I saw pitfalls. You saw progress, but I saw patterns. I recognized cycles from your past trying to present themselves in a new form, and I refused to let them attach to your future. Sometimes my greatest protection is not in what I give, but in what I take away. And what I removed, though it felt abrupt, was a rescue, a divine extraction. I pulled you out before you got too deep, before your identity became wrapped around something I never authored. I didn't want you to have to heal from what I could prevent. So I stepped in and disrupted it gently, lovingly, but firmly. I made it uncomfortable so you wouldn't remain. I let the cracks show so you'd stop trying to build on it. I quieted the excitement so you could hear the warning. You didn't fail. You were protected. What didn't work out was never yours to carry long term. I let you experience just enough to learn, but not enough to be wounded. And now, I want you to let it go fully, not just with your hands, but with your heart. Don't carry resentment toward what ended. Don't let bitterness grow in the soil where I planted wisdom. What's behind you was part of your journey, but it is not part of your future. I removed it so you would be free, not just free from it, but free for what's coming. What I'm preparing for you doesn't require any of what I took away. In fact, it demands your hands to be open and your soul to be uncluttered. I'm creating space for what is truly mine, relationships that honor your calling, opportunities that match your character, doors that lead to peace, not performance. Trust that if I took it, I had a reason. If I closed it, I had insight. And if I blocked it, I had better waiting. My final decision is layered with foresight. I protect not only your present, but your future. You don't need to chase what I removed. Let it remain behind, and keep walking forward. What I have for you won't need to be forced. You will come with confirmation, with peace, and with fruit that lasts. Because this time, it won't just look good, it will be mine. Long before your footsteps ever reach the places I have prepared, I was already there, opening the way. You may feel unseen at times, like your obedience is hidden, your progress unnoticed, and your prayers unheard, but I want you to know this truth. Your name is not unknown in heaven, and it is not forgotten on earth. In realms you've never walked, I have whispered your name. In meetings you weren't invited to, I have placed favor in the minds of people who don't even know you yet. There are spaces being shifted, hearts being stirred, and decisions being made because I've already gone before you to prepare the path. You don't need to promote yourself or strive to be noticed. What I have ordained for you is not dependent on your ability to market your calling. It is secured by my sovereignty. I am the one who calls kings to attention and causes voices to speak your name at just the right moment. You don't have to worry about missing the opportunity I crafted for you, because I've scheduled it in divine time. I've placed your purpose into motion before you even knew how to pray for it. You were never behind. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. I've been orchestrating things in the background while you stayed faithful in the hidden place. And now, the fruit of your unseen labor is beginning to reach the ears and eyes of those who hold the keys to the next door. You didn't need to be present in the room for me to speak on your behalf. I've been planting thoughts in minds, stirring conversations, aligning hearts to recognize the anointing you carry. What is yours cannot be missed. The table that is being set is not built by human hands, it's a divine arrangement. I've built ahead not just to prepare a place, but to prepare people. The ones who will walk with you in this next season are being drawn not by your image, but by your assignment. I've spoken your name into atmospheres where purpose is recognized before presence is seen. And that's why you felt a stirring in your spirit, a sense that something is shifting, even though nothing has visibly changed yet. That's me, alerting your spirit that alignment is happening behind the curtain. I'm not just bringing you to the right places, I'm causing the right places to be ready for you. The influence you will carry isn't built on platforms, it's born out of purity. Your impact will not come from striving, but from staying yielded. You remain faithful in the seasons of silence, and now I am raising your name in the ears of decision makers, not to elevate ego, but to position destiny. And here's the beauty: you didn't have to manipulate anything to get here. You didn't force your way in. You waited, trusted, served, and sowed in quietness. And now, I'm bringing the harvest to places you didn't even know were fields. You may not have the connections, but you have the covenant. You may not have the resume they expect, but you have the favor I released. My endorsement is greater than anything man can offer. So don't be surprised when invitations come unexpectedly. Don't second-guess the moments when doors open without explanation. It's not random, it's fulfillment. I've gone ahead to ensure that when you arrive, the room will already be prepared, the hearts will already be open, and the timing will already be perfect. This is not coincidence. This is covenant movement. You're not walking into opportunity, you're stepping into prophecy. Every closed door you once faced, every no that confused you, every delay that stretched you, it was all leading to this moment where my voice speaks your name in places your feet are just now beginning to reach. You didn't miss it. I saved it. And now I'm releasing it, because my final decision has already made room for you. The blessing that's drawing near is not fragile, not fleeting, not dependent on trends or tied to temporary favor. It's not something that will fade with changing seasons or be snatched away by a shifting world. This is not the kind of breakthrough that comes and goes with circumstances, it's something rooted deeply in the soil of eternity. What I'm about to place into your hands was authored before time began. It is part of a divine rhythm that's been moving toward you all along, even when you couldn't see it. You've waited, you've trusted, you've held on longer than you thought you could, and now I want you to know, this isn't just another moment of encouragement. This is a divine unveiling of something that cannot be undone. I am releasing into your life not just a blessing, but a shift, one that aligns with the blueprint I wrote before you ever took your first breath. It has permanence, because it was never sourced in this world. It's not based on your efforts, your surroundings, or your status, it's based on covenant. Heaven doesn't operate on earthly timelines, and what I'm doing in your life is not running late, it's arriving exactly when it was meant to. You felt like the delays cost you something, but what's coming wasn't diminished by waiting, it was deepened. The longer it took, the greater the depth of what I built in secret. Like roots growing underground, there were structures I was forming in the unseen places of your life to support the weight of what I'm now about to release. This blessing doesn't come with strings, it comes with stability. This open door will not require compromise. This elevation won't bring confusion, because I've already cleared the air of what used to cloud your vision. You won't have to keep looking over your shoulder wondering if it will last, because I've sealed it with my word. The enemy cannot dismantle what I have secured in heaven's authority. You will not have to fight to keep it, you'll just need to steward it with wisdom and surrender. What's being released into your life is something that carries my fingerprint. It's not a result of coincidence. It's not the product of worldly systems. It is a gift born from grace and carried on the wings of obedience. You didn't earn it by performance, you positioned yourself through persistence. And now, I'm bringing it into your reality with permanence. It won't vanish under pressure. It won't collapse in chaos. It won't be swept away by fear or shaken by storms. It's been established on something greater than time, it's been forged in eternity, and eternity does not expire. You've seen things come and go. You've watched promises made and broken. You've carried hope that sometimes felt fragile. But what I'm about to pour out will be unmistakably different. This isn't revival that flickers, it's legacy that stands. I've ensured that what is being added to your life now will echo forward, touching lives far beyond your own. It will carry impact, not just moments. It will birth movements, not just emotions. It will settle your spirit, not stir anxiety. And the reason is simple, it's not coming from what you built, it's coming from what I established. The doors opening for you now are attached to timing that I alone design. The favor you are stepping into will not be seasonal, it will be sustained. And even when challenges arise, even when resistance appears, what I've anchored will remain firm. You are entering into a new era, one where my decisions for you are no longer clouded by delay, no longer hidden by process. The fullness is arriving, and it will not leave you empty. The peace I'm releasing will not fade with conflict. The provision I'm releasing will not dry up. The clarity I'm releasing will not dissolve in confusion. Because I'm not giving you something to carry for a moment, I'm establishing you for a lifetime. My final decision is not just a blessing. It is a placement, a positioning, a permanence born from eternity, and it will stand. There's a difference between being elevated for a moment and being rooted for a lifetime. What I'm doing in you now isn't simply about giving you a glimpse of favor or offering a brief breakthrough to encourage your faith. I'm moving in such a way that what I release will not merely lift you out of the pit, it will anchor you in a new place of influence, purpose, and divine authority. I am not interested in momentary applause or fleeting victories. I'm interested in building something lasting in your life, something that doesn't wobble under pressure or fade when the spotlight dims. You've been through too much, waited too long, endured too deeply for me to hand you something shallow. What I am placing into your hands now will not be something you have to chase constantly to keep. It will not rise and fall based on the approval of others. It will not be something you wear like a borrowed robe. No, this is tailor-made, fitted by grace, refined through your wilderness, and backed by heaven. The blessing coming will do more than make your name known, it will make your foundation strong. Because I don't just want to lift you up. I want to make sure you can remain where I place you. I'm not building this on emotion, or energy, or momentum. I'm building this on truth, obedience, character, and covenant. This is about stability, something the world could never give you. I am establishing you in an identity that doesn't shift with circumstances. I'm anchoring you in peace that doesn't shake with storms. I'm positioning you in a realm where striving ends and clarity begins. You don't have to prove your place, I've already affirmed it. You don't have to compete for what's yours, I've already secured it. There is a depth to this next move that you won't be able to explain to everyone, because it's not performance-based, it's presence-based. You'll find yourself moving with greater wisdom, not because you've become more impressive, but because you've become more aligned. You'll walk through rooms with confidence, not arrogance, because you'll know you were placed there by my hand. You'll build with conviction, not desperation, because you'll know your assignment is not based on public demand, it's born from divine instruction. This is the season where I am setting your feet on ground that will not crumble under you. Where others once questioned your ability to last, I will show them what it looks like when I establish someone through process, not shortcuts. You were not rushed through this journey. You were not promoted prematurely. You went through the stretching, the refining, the pruning, and now you will carry the strength of someone who knows what it costs to be here. That strength will keep you grounded. That strength will allow you to handle the blessing with humility. And that strength, child, will remind you every day that this isn't something you built by accident, it's something I constructed with intention. I am establishing you in ways you never expected. Not just financially, not just relationally, but spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. You will feel a new steadiness inside you, not driven by fear of loss, but filled with quiet assurance that what is yours cannot be shaken. You spent enough time climbing unstable ladders, hoping they wouldn't fall. Now I'm placing you on solid ground, where your hands are free not to hold on in fear, but to build without trembling. This blessing is different. It is not fragile, it is fortified. It is not shallow, it is sealed. And it is not fleeting, it is fixed in me. What I give you now will last, not because of what you do to maintain it, but because of what I've already done to make it immovable. This isn't just a moment of being lifted. This is the beginning of being firmly planted. My final decision isn't just to raise you, it's to root you in a life that reflects my faithfulness from this day forward. There were seasons where you felt like an outsider, even in places you were called to. Rooms you walked into with hope ended up making you feel invisible. You gave your best, and still, you were overlooked. You stayed humble, and yet, others advanced ahead of you. You carried purpose in your spirit, but it seemed like no one could recognize the weight of what you brought. And in those moments of silence when the doors remained shut, when your voice felt small, when you were surrounded by people who questioned your value, you began to wonder if you were meant to be seated at the table at all. But child, I saw it all. I saw every effort. I witnessed every moment you held your tongue instead of defending yourself. I noticed how you applauded others, while your heart longed for acknowledgement. I counted the tears that fell in secret because you felt forgotten in places you had served faithfully. And now I want you to hear me clearly. You will not have to fight your way in anymore. I am making room for you not in hidden corners, but at prepared places. The table I am setting is not one built by men, but by my hand. It is not dependent on connections or credential. It's not something you have to campaign for. I'm not requiring you to perform to be seen or to strive to be accepted. What I'm doing now is beyond politics and position, it's about purpose. I am preparing a place that no one can deny you, because I've already reserved it in your name. Those who once questioned your calling will watch me confirm it. Those who spoke doubt over your future will witness me fulfill it. Not to shame them, but to reveal that what I placed inside you was never contingent on their approval. I don't elevate to make a statement of revenge, I raise to glorify what was righteous. And because you did not try to push your way forward, because you let me defend your name and story, now I will do it openly. I am placing you where no one expected, because my favor doesn't follow formulas, it follows faith. You were faithful when no one was watching, and now I am preparing a public table, not for applause but for assignment. I want you seated, not to be seen but to serve, to lead with grace, to influence with humility, to bless others from the overflow I am about to release. And you will not sit in fear. You will sit in peace. You will not question whether you belong. You will know that I brought you here. Your seat will not be unstable. It will not come with strings. It will not require compromise. I'm not handing you a place to fit, and I'm giving you a platform to fulfill what I've placed within. There is no need to defend your right to be there, because I've already spoken for you in heaven. And now, that decision will manifest on earth. I am the one who lifts up, and I have chosen to lift you not to exalt ego, but to elevate purpose. You will find yourself standing in places that once felt out of reach, not because you pushed harder, but because you trusted longer. You didn't manipulate and you the prayer. You didn't chase platforms, you chased me. And because of that, what I'm doing is different. It's deeper. It's purer. And it's irrevocable. No one can close what I open. And no voice can undo what I've declared. So sit, child. Not in fear, not in apology, but in confidence. The seed I've prepared is yours, and it comes with peace, purpose, and a story that only I could write. This is not the result of luck. It is the fruit of alignment. My final decision includes your rightful place, one that reflects what I always saw in you, even when others did not. You may have wondered if this moment was about proving something to those who hurt you, abandoned you, or misunderstood you. You've replayed scenarios in your mind, what they said, what they did, how they left without explanation or blamed you without cause. You've silently asked, will they ever know the truth? Will they ever see the weight of what I carry or the sincerity of what I gave? But listen, beloved, what I'm doing in your life now isn't about vindication in the eyes of people, it's about restoration in the depths of your soul. I am not lifting you up to make a spectacle of your past. I'm not blessing you so others will feel the sting of regret. I'm blessing you because I am a redeemer. I restore what was stolen, not to satisfy ego, but to heal what was broken. My decision is not driven by human emotion. It's not about settling scores, it's about writing stories. I don't operate in bitterness. I move in mercy. And what I'm doing now is the result of my covenant with you, not my anger toward them. I've watched you struggle with the pain of injustice, the ache of false assumptions, and the sting of being treated as less than you truly are. But I never lost sight of who you are. I never accepted the verdicts others placed over your name. While they spoke over you from a limited perspective, I was already planning how I would restore every piece they tried to break. And now, I'm doing just that, but not with the spirit of revenge. I'm doing it with the heart of redemption. I want your healing, not their humiliation. I want your joy, not their regret. I want your wholeness, not their shame. Because I know this: if I rebuild your life only to prove a point, then your foundation becomes pride. But if I rebuild your life to restore your heart, then your foundation becomes peace. I am interested in your peace. I am passionate about your freedom. And the truth is, I've already handled what they did. I've already seen the full picture, every word spoken in secret, every motive behind the mask. I've already sifted their actions through my perfect justice, and I've already extended grace in ways you haven't seen. Now I want you to release the need for retribution and receive the beauty of restoration. What I'm about to pour into your life is not payback, it's promise fulfilled. It's me saying, I haven't forgotten you. I haven't neglected your pain. I've just been waiting for the right time to do this the right way. And the right way is always the redemptive way. I will bless you openly, not to boast, but to reveal that I am who I say I am. I am the God who brings good out of ashes. I am the God who turns mourning into dancing. I am the God who prepares joy where sorrow tried to plant itself. Your story will be a testimony, not of how you overcame people, but of how you trusted me to do what only I could. You will walk forward with a heart free of resentment. You will move into the next season without dragging the weight of what was done. This is not a moment of revenge, it's a movement of redemption. And because of that, you will have a peace that cannot be disturbed, a joy that cannot be reversed, and a future that cannot be touched by the damage of the past. My final decision is to redeem everything that was meant to ruin you, and to do it in such a way that all that's left is beauty, blessing, and the undeniable evidence that I was with you through it all. You've looked back and grieved the time you thought was wasted. You've counted the days, the months, even the years that seemed lost to pain, confusion, delay, and detours. There were seasons where you gave your all, yet saw nothing flourish. You watched opportunities slip through your hands. You witnessed doors open for others while you waited in silence. And inside, you began to wonder, did I miss it? Is it too late? Did the years really pass without meaning? But I want to tell you something heaven has known all along. Not one moment was truly lost. Not one season was wasted beyond my reach. The enemy may have touched your journey, but he never had the power to erase your purpose. I saw every second the enemy tried to drain your hope, and I have counted it all not to remind you of the loss, but to measure what I'm about to return. I do not repay lightly. I do not restore in fractions. When I restore, I return in full and then overflow. I saw when your joy was drained, your confidence diminished, your energy spent. I saw the delay that made you feel like everyone else was progressing while you stood still. And now, I am moving with intention, not just to give you something new, but to give you back what the enemy assumed was gone forever. You thought you had to let go of that dream because too much time had passed. You believed the promise had expired because the wait stretched longer than your strength. But I was never late. I was preserving something sacred for a moment such as this. What I'm returning to you will not be the same as what was taken, it will be better. Not just restored, but refined. Not just replaced, but multiplied. You see, I was not only watching your pain, I was storing your perseverance. Every time you trusted me instead of giving up, every time you chose to worship through the weariness, I took note. And I'm not just restoring what the enemy touched, I'm adding interest. This next chapter won't be a repeat of what you've seen before. It will be redemption with power. The time you thought was barren was actually where your roots were going deep. The years that felt fruitless were the very seasons where I was building the foundation to carry what I'm about to give you. What other you received quickly, you will receive deeply. Because I've been preparing you for a blessing that won't be shaken by pressure or stolen by time. You will look around in awe not at what you've gained, but at how I've brought it all back, better than before. I am restoring opportunities that align with your true identity, not the version of you shaped by pain. I am reconnecting you with relationships that honor your soul, not drain it. I'm reigniting the vision that once burned in your heart before disappointment tried to extinguish it. You're not too late. You're right on time because I am the keeper of time. And I redeem time not by rewinding the past, but by releasing more than you missed into your present. So don't mourn what you think is gone. Get ready for what I'm about to release. The enemy thought he succeeded in stealing years, but what he didn't know is that I was keeping record. I was watching. I was waiting. And now I'm moving. Not just to comfort you, but to restore you. Not just to encourage you, but to repay you. Your story is about to shift from survival to supernatural restoration. People will look at your life and wonder how so much could be rebuilt so quickly, and you will know the answer. It was me. It was never too late. It was always in my hands. My final decision is not to leave you picking up broken pieces. It is to hand you back the years, redeemed, resurrected, and overflowing with glory. There have been times you walked forward, but felt like you were stumbling through fog. Times where you prayed for clarity but only encountered silence. You wanted direction, but decisions felt blurred. You wanted peace, but doubt crept in like a thief, unsettling your confidence and clouding your next step. You looked for signs but only saw uncertainty. And all the while, shadows tried to distort what I had spoken, whispers of fear, memories of failure, distractions dressed as opportunities. These shadows aren't just circumstantial, they were spiritual, sent to mislead, to disorient, to cause you to question what you once believed so clearly. But hear me now. I am shining light into every single place where confusion has tried to take root. I am dispelling the fog not by shouting over it, but by unveiling the truth I've always had waiting for you. Truth doesn't scream, it illuminates. It doesn't compete with chaos, it calms it. And my truth is about to silence every conflicting voice that has tried to invade your mind. I never created you to live in constant tension, constantly second-guessing every choice, constantly wondering if you've missed something. That isn't discernment, that's warfare. And I'm putting an end to it. I'm casting out confusion with clarity that won't just help you for today, but anchor you for the road ahead. My light is revealing what was hidden, not to shame you but to guide you, not to condemn you but to free you. I'm going to show you what was from me and what was sent to distract. I'm going to confirm what's truly aligned with your calling and what only looked right from the surface. I'm going to expose motives both in yourself and others so that you stop investing energy into what doesn't bear fruit. And when I reveal these things, don't be afraid. Don't resist what I uncover. Because even the parts of your story that feel like detours, I can still redirect for my glory. I'm not revealing the truth to wound you, I'm doing it to reintroduce you to the real path you were always meant to walk. The enemy worked overtime to convince you that you were too far off course, that you were walking blind, that you had missed my will completely. But I have always had a lamp for your feet and a light for your path, and now I'm turning the brightness up. No more wandering. No more spiritual static. No more bouncing between uncertainty and anxiety. I'm replacing that with stillness and precision. My spirit will begin confirming things in your heart so unmistakably that peace will settle before every yes, and unrest will rise before every no. You won't have to strive to figure it all out, I will begin to make it plain. The way forward won't be foggy, it will be marked. Even in situations where you thought, I'll never understand why that happened, I will begin to unveil meaning. Not all at once, but steadily, beautifully, with gentleness and grace. I'm not just showing you where to go, I'm showing you how to walk. I'm not just giving you options, I'm releasing discernment. A kind that doesn't come from intellect but from intimacy. The more time you spend in my presence, the more familiar my voice becomes, and the easier it is to recognize when I am leading. That is how the confusion breaks, not with striving, but with proximity. Shadows cannot survive in light, and my light is now flooding the areas of your life that used to be covered by guessing and grasping. This is your moment to walk with open eyes, to move without hesitation, to speak with conviction. I am not the author of confusion, I am the source of clarity. And when I speak, I do not stutter. My final decision is not only to bless you, but to guide you with a clarity that no darkness can overpower again. There have been moments in your life where the truth of who you are was buried beneath the opinions of others. You were labeled by people who never took the time to know your heart. You were placed into boxes you never agreed to, defined by assumptions that wounded your spirit. They saw only fragments of your story and believed they had the full picture. They judged your silence as weakness, your gentleness as passivity, your loyalty as naivety. Some misused your kindness, taking what you gave without valuing the cost. Others misjudged your motives, twisting your purest intentions into stories that never reflected reality. And in the midst of it all, you carried the weight of trying to prove your heart, to justify your actions, to convince those around you that you meant no harm. But here is what I want you to understand now. You no longer have to fight for understanding when I've already written the truth. I know your heart. I've seen your motives. I've watched the hidden battles that no one else noticed. And I was never confused about who you are. When others misrepresented you, I stood as the defender of your name. When you were talked about rather than spoken to, I covered you in grace. When you were pushed aside, I drew you closer. And now, I am stepping in not to get even, but to set things right. You see, my justice isn't about vengeance, it's about restoration. And I'm about to restore something that was stripped from you, your true identity. I'm not only returning what was taken, I'm giving it back with power, with clarity, with a voice that cannot be silenced again. You will not be defined by the narrative others built around your wounds. You will not be remembered by the chapters they distorted. I am rewriting the ending not by erasing what you went through, but by revealing how I've repurposed every scar. What was once used to shame you will now serve as a platform for healing. The very parts of your story that were misunderstood will become the message that liberates others. You no longer have to shrink back or hide the parts of you that have been misrepresented. I'm bringing truth into the open not as a weapon, but as a witness of my faithfulness, of your endurance, of the grace that carried you through. And when people look again, they won't just see the misunderstood version, they will see the redeemed, the resilient, the radiant one I've been forming through fire. You may have walked through betrayal, through dismissal, through being spoken over and walked past, but none of it disqualified you. If anything, it proved what I already knew, that you could withstand the pressure without losing your heart, that you could still bless even when bruised, that you could keep walking with integrity while others watched from a distance, never offering a hand. My child, you don't have to carry the burden of explaining yourself anymore. I will make the truth clear in my time. And when I do, there will be no bitterness in your spirit, only peace. You will not rise from a place of resentment. You will rise from a place of healing. And that, more than anything, is what will speak loudest. I'm not just clearing your name, I'm revealing your nature. The one I designed. The one that stayed intact even when your reputation was chipped away. The one that remained loyal to me even when others walked away from you. I'm restoring that dignity. I'm healing that memory. I'm redeeming every moment you were unseen, unheard, unvalued. This isn't about correcting others, it's about resurrecting you. Because what matters now is not how they saw you, it's how I see you. And I say you are chosen, whole, healed, and rising. My final decision is not based on who misunderstood you, but on who I've always known you to be. And that version, the real one, is the one I'm lifting now for all to see. There have been voices, some from others, some from within, that have tried to tell you who you are. Words spoken in frustration, comparison, or cruelty that left marks deeper than anyone could see. Voices that told you that you were too much or not enough, that you didn't measure up, that you were always falling short. Some came from people you trusted, which made the wounds feel even heavier. Some echoed long after they were spoken, embedding themselves in your thoughts and replaying when you were at your weakest. And then there were the silent voices, the assumptions you made from rejection, the meaning you assigned to abandonment, the self-talk that convinced you that maybe you deserved to be overlooked. But I want you to hear me now, louder than all of them. Those voices do not carry the authority to define you. They were never your maker. They didn't breathe life into you. They didn't shape your destiny. I did. And I have not stuttered in my verdict over you. You are not broken beyond use. You are not disqualified. You are not a mistake. You are mine chosen, intentional, crafted with care, and anointed for impact. I saw every word that was spoken over you, words meant to limit, label, and wound. And while you may have accepted some of them as truth for a time, I am rewriting those internal agreements now. I'm not just silencing the external noise, I'm healing the inner echo. I'm replacing the false definitions with divine declarations. Where they said you were a burden, I say you're a blessing. Where they called you difficult, I call you destined. Where they said you'd never rise, I say you're already rising. My decision isn't based on their opinions, it's anchored in eternal truth. I am not bound by their limited view of you. I'm restoring the vision of how I've always seen you. And now, that vision is becoming your reality. No longer will you shrink to fit their comfort. No longer will you dim your light to maintain peace that was never real. No longer will you measure your worth against their inability to see your value. I'm giving you a voice not to argue, but to announce. You don't have to defend yourself. You only have to walk in the truth of who you are. I will vindicate your identity, not by argument, but by outcome. The fruit of your life will speak louder than their criticisms. The peace you walk in will silence the noise they tried to plant in your spirit. You are not who they said you were. You never were. That's why it always felt like something didn't fit. Because you were trying to wear words that weren't woven for you. Now, I'm removing them. Every lie that took root, I'm pulling it out. Every label that limited you, I'm tearing it off. Every false identity that clung to you, I'm breaking it apart with my truth. And in its place, I'm speaking new words. Words of purpose. Words of power. Words that restore. My voice over you is not harsh. It is healing. It doesn't remind you of failure, it calls out your future. It doesn't echo shame, it breathes strength. Let that voice become the loudest in your heart. Let that truth become the foundation you build from. I'm not just silencing what they said, I'm establishing what I say. And I say you are free. You are seen. You are strong. You are valuable beyond description. The world may take time to catch up to what I've declared, but don't wait for their agreement to walk in your anointing. You have nothing to prove and everything to become. Because when I speak, creation responds. When I declare, destiny shifts. And I've made my final decision about you not based on their limitations, but based on my love. And that decision speaks louder than anything else ever said. You've walked through seasons where it seemed like everything was going in reverse. Moments where progress turned into pause, where plans unraveled without warning, and where doors you thought were opening suddenly closed without explanation. To others, it may have looked like you failed. To them, it may have appeared that your momentum stalled, that your path took a wrong turn, or that your chances slipped away. Some may have even said it to your face, or worse, whispered it behind your back, that you missed your opportunity, that you lost your moment. But here's the truth that only heaven fully understood in those hidden hours. It was never a step back, it was a divine positioning. What they saw as you falling behind was actually me pulling you into the exact place where I could prepare you for the weight of what's next. They saw the service, but I saw the soil. I wasn't removing you from visibility to punish you, I was pulling you deeper to anchor you. Just like a seed must be hidden before it can sprout, I allowed you to be covered not because you were finished, but because you were about to flourish. It didn't look like growth, because growth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it happens in silence, in darkness, beneath the layers where no one else is watching. While others judge your outcome by what they could see, I was working beneath the surface, strengthening your foundation, increasing your capacity, refining your motives, and stripping away everything that would not sustain where I'm taking you. And now, the season is shifting. What was hidden is about to be seen. Not because you forced your way forward, but because you've been faithfully planted. You've endured misunderstanding without becoming bitter. You've stayed rooted when the winds of discouragement blew hard. And now, you're about to emerge not by accident, but by my appointment. I want you to look at every no, every delay, every detour and see them differently now. See them as me guiding, not denying. See them as redirection, not rejection. What felt like a door slamming shut was actually me pulling you out of something too small, too shallow, or too soon. I couldn't let you settle there. I couldn't let you attach your destiny to something that wasn't built to carry the weight of who you truly are. I had to let it fall apart so that what I've designed could come together. And what's coming together now is something so precise, so purposeful, that even the pain of your setbacks will begin to make sense in light of it. What was meant to bury you will become the ground you rise from. What tried to silence you will become the platform for my glory. What they laughed at, minimized, or dismissed I will now use as proof that I was with you all along. You are not behind. You are right where I've placed you. And soon, what felt like delay will reveal itself as divine timing. Not only are you coming out, you're coming out stronger, wiser, more discerning, more grounded, more anointed. Because this wasn't just about where you were going. It was about who you were becoming on the way there. So let them call it a setback if they must. But know this, I call it setup. And I'm not just setting you up for a personal breakthrough, I'm setting you up to be a testimony. One that carries weight. One that brings others out. One that shifts atmospheres and silences every lie spoken over your story. This is not the end of your purpose. This is the beginning of a move that only I could have orchestrated. My final decision isn't based on what went wrong, it's rooted in what I've always planned to make right. You've carried things you thought disqualified you from being chosen. You've looked at your past, your mistakes, your wounds, and wondered if they had disfigured the future I promised you. You've been told directly or indirectly that you didn't have the right background, the right reputation, the right voice, the right story. You felt the weight of shame that crept in quietly, not just from what was done to you, but from decisions you regret. And the enemy, always watching for vulnerable moments, tried to convince you that you had missed your moment entirely, that what you've walked through made you less worthy, less pure, less able to be used. But here is the truth I have waited patiently for you to fully receive. Nothing disqualifies what I've destined. I don't see you through the lens of failure, I see you through the lens of my finished work. The cross didn't make room for perfect people. It made room for redemption stories. And you, child, are a living story still unfolding in my hands. I never asked you to be flawless. I asked you to be available. I chose you knowing every chapter of your journey. I factored in your detours. I anticipated your struggles. I foresaw your valleys. And I still said yes. Not because I overlooked those things, but because I planned to redeem them. I knew that what you thought would disqualify you could become the very evidence of my power. You see wounds, I see testimony. You see weakness, I see a vessel that depends on me. You see flaws, I see places my grace can shine through. The places you tried to hide are the very places I want to reveal my goodness. This isn't about pretending you have it all together. It's about embracing the truth that I work best in surrendered hands. I'm not asking you to carry shame anymore. I'm asking you to carry light. The things they pointed to as reasons to overlook you, I am transforming them into proof that I am the God who raises the overlooked and rights the rejected. They thought your pain disqualified you, but I'm using it to make your voice louder. They thought your background was too broken, but I'm using it to reach people no one else could. They thought your silence was weakness, but I'm giving it power to shake atmospheres. I am the one who turns ashes into beauty, sorrow into songs, messes into movements. You don't need to erase your past to be qualified, you need to surrender it. What the world throws away, I resurrect. What religion discredits, I restore. What the crowd disapproves of, I breathe on. I am not embarrassed by your story. I am enthroned in it. Because when I lift you, it will be clear that it was not man who made the way. It was me. Not networking. Not perfection. Not performance. Just me. And when others see your life, they will not see a person who had it all figured out. They will see someone who stayed when it was hard. Someone who kept believing when it didn't make sense. Someone who trusted the voice of the Father more than the noise of their past. That's what brings me glory. Your life is not a contradiction to my calling, it's confirmation. You don't have to keep proving that you belong. You already do. I don't work through perfect resumes, I work through willing hearts. I am taking the very parts of your life you wished had never happened, and I'm breathing purpose into them. I am reclaiming it all. There is not a single detail I cannot use. And that's why I'm saying to you now, don't be ashamed of where you've been. Don't hide what I'm redeeming. Let your life speak not of how perfect you were, but of how faithful I am. My final decision is to take the parts others would discard and make them shine. Through you, I will show the world that nothing is wasted, and that I can raise anyone, from anywhere, to reflect my glory. The delay is over. The pause has served its purpose. What once felt like a holding pattern is shifting into motion. The things you've prayed about in private, wept over in silence, and waited on with trembling hope are now being touched by my hand in real time. You've been faithful in the stillness. You remained when it would have been easier to walk away. You stewarded what little you had, and you did not curse the waiting. And because of that, the atmosphere around you is changing. Heaven is not just listening, it's responding. The release you've longed for isn't far off in some distant promise, it's beginning now. Not in a dramatic flash, but like the first breath after a long silence. A shift so deep that you feel it before you see it. I know what you thought. Maybe I'm meant to wait a little longer. Maybe it's not my time yet. Maybe I misunderstood. But I'm telling you today, this is not a delay any longer. This is the unveiling. I've watched your spirit grow strong in quiet places. I've seen your faith mature when there was nothing to feed it but my word. I've allowed circumstances to stretch your dependence on me, not to exhaust you, but to prove to you that your strength comes from more than circumstances. It comes from me. And now that you have learned to walk by trust and not by sight, I am opening what once seemed sealed. You are stepping into fulfillment not by accident, but by design. And what I am releasing is not a substitute or a lesser version of what you asked for. It is the fullness. It is the harvest you forgot was still buried under the soil of your obedience. What felt invisible was never inactive. What looked like silence was actually preparation. And now, you will see how I've been working all along. The release won't look like what others experience, it will be tailored to your journey, shaped by your story, and timed with precision. Some doors will swing open without effort. Some conversations will carry divine weight. Some moments will confirm what I spoke long ago but you almost forgot. You will feel it in your bones. This is the beginning of what I promised. But even more than that, you will know deep within your soul that I was worth the wait. I'm not releasing just for your comfort, I'm releasing for your calling. This is not just about relief, it's about purpose. I am activating what's been dormant. I'm stirring up what was buried under disappointment. I'm breathing on what looked like it died. This is more than answers, it's alignment. You're stepping into timing that was written before your first breath. You're walking into rooms I prepared while others were busy making their own plans. You're arriving in moments I've synchronized with eternity. And as you move forward, you won't need to force anything. I will do the lifting. You won't have to explain yourself. I will speak through the results. You won't need to make yourself fit. I will expand the space around you to accommodate the grace I've placed upon you. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are right on schedule with the release I've been waiting to give you. And now that it's here, don't hold back. Don't shrink to old mindsets. Don't revisit the fear that ruled you in the waiting. Rise into what I've declared. Step boldly. Love freely. Lead with confidence. Because what I'm doing now has nothing to do with striving and everything to do with surrender. You surrendered. And now I'm responding. The drought has ended. The cloud is moving. The provision is arriving. And your heart, yes, your heart is about to overflow. My final decision is this. You are no longer in waiting. You are in release. Walk in it. There are moments in your life when it felt like every path forward was sealed. You stood before opportunities that seemed perfect, only to watch them vanish. You knocked on doors with expectation, only to be met with silence. You questioned, not just the timing, but your worth, wondering if something within you was the reason nothing moved. But what you didn't see was this. I was reserving a door that no man could block, delay, or manipulate. A door not crafted by human design, but framed in heaven and timed by eternity. And now, that door is unlocking. Not by the influence of people, not by the systems of this world, but by my authority alone. You won't have to push to make it open. You won't have to persuade anyone to let you in. The access I am giving you now doesn't come from approval, it flows from promise. What I'm opening in front of you is the result of covenant, not convenience. I have watched every moment you stood patiently while others moved ahead. I have seen the tension in your spirit, the prayers whispered in the quiet of night. Lord, when is it my turn? And now my answer is moving into view. This is your turn, and no voice can revoke it. No system can delay it. No opposition can cancel what I've decreed. You will walk through this door not because of who you know, but because of who I am. I am the God who opens what no one can shut, and shuts what no one can open. This is not a temporary opening. This is not a narrow window. This is a wide and lasting way, made for you to step into with boldness. What awaits you on the other side is not more striving, it's settled purpose. It's territory that has your name on it, waiting for your arrival. And I am not just opening a door to bless you, I'm opening it to reveal my glory through you. This moment is about more than breakthrough. It's about legacy. It's about showing those around you and even the generations after you what it looks like when heaven intervenes in a life that chose to trust instead of rush. I did not forget the seeds you sowed when no one clapped. I did not ignore the faithfulness you gave when no reward was visible. This open door is not a reward for effort, it is a release of destiny. You were never waiting in vain. I was preparing everything behind that door to be ready for you. Now, I am placing the key in your spirit. The peace you feel right now is the confirmation. The stirring that's been building is the signal. This is more than a moment, it's a move. And you will not enter with fear. You will enter with fire. You will not wonder if you belong. You will walk in knowing I have sent you. There will be favor that follows your footsteps, clarity that confirms your choices, alignment that meets you as you move. I am not just opening one door, I am opening many. But this one will be the beginning, the hinge point, a shift. And when you walk through, things will accelerate. What took years before will take weeks. What once felt complicated will now unfold with ease. Not because it's suddenly easy, but because it's finally time. I've waited until your heart could handle what your hands are about to carry. And now, they are ready. Walk forward, knowing this. No person can reverse what I have set in motion. No timeline can restrict what I have fast-tracked by my spirit. No failure from your past can disqualify what I've already redeemed. You don't need permission from the world to walk into what heaven has assigned to you. You only need my word, and I've given it. I've said, come. I've said, now. I've said, it's open. Step in, child. The door stands wide, and my final decision is this. What I've opened for you, no one can shut. What I am bringing into your life now is not meant to offer temporary relief or fleeting comfort. It's designed to change the patterns that have kept you repeating the same battles. You've seen how some struggles have come in waves, circling back again and again, showing up in different forms but carrying the same weight. You fought them with prayer. You pushed through with faith. You've endured them with perseverance. And now, I want you to know, I'm not just lifting the burden, I'm breaking the cycle. The cycles that have moved through your family, the ones that followed you from childhood, the ones that lingered in your thinking, whispering lies in moments of vulnerability, the habits, the strongholds, the emotional traps that kept you tethered to the same outcomes despite your growth. They are being shattered by what I'm releasing now. This breakthrough isn't surface level. It's structural. It's going to the root. It's addressing not just the symptom, but the source. I'm going back to where it started, not to reopen wounds, but to bring complete healing. You will no longer feel like you're moving forward only to be pulled backward again. I'm cutting the cords to the patterns that drained your strength and tested your peace. This time, the change will be visible and lasting. You'll notice it in your thoughts, clarity replacing confusion, hope replacing hesitation. You'll notice it in your behavior, peace becoming your first response instead of fear. You'll notice it in your atmosphere, relationships realigning, opportunities reforming, and your energy no longer being consumed by the same emotional loops. Because what I'm doing now is not about managing chaos, it's about establishing freedom. You were never meant to live stuck in spiritual cycles, walking in circles around the same mountain. That's why you felt so restless lately. That stirring wasn't frustration, it was the friction of your spirit getting ready to step into new territory. You sensed something was about to change, and I'm confirming it now. This is your crossing point. The internal patterns that once held you captive are being replaced with rhythms of grace. Where anxiety once spiraled, you'll find stillness. Where insecurity repeated itself, confidence will take root. Where self-doubt used to echo, my truth will rise louder. I'm rewriting the way you respond to pressure. I'm rebuilding your identity from the inside out. I'm shifting your expectations, not to limit you but to elevate you. I don't just want to take the weight off your shoulders, I want to show you how to walk without that weight ever returning. I'm not just removing the obstacle, I'm redrawing the map. What I give you now will not require you to sacrifice your peace to maintain it. You won't have to burn out to hold on. This will be a flow, not a fight. A movement, not a struggle. Because it's not just a blessing, it's a divine reversal. Everything that tried to entangle you will now lose its grip. The fears that replayed like background noise will fall silent. And even the areas where you once compromised just to survive, those will now be filled with strength and discernment. This is more than breakthrough, it's reformation. I'm resetting the entire framework of how you walk with me, how you see yourself, how you carry what I give you. And no, you're not too late. You haven't missed it. This is right on time. It's been building in the unseen. And now, it will unfold without interruption. Because I've declared it, the cycles are broken. The patterns have lost their power. And the season you're stepping into will not look like anything from the past. You're not just being freed, you're being made whole. And that wholeness will overflow into everything you touch. Others will notice. They'll ask what happened. And you'll know this wasn't just your effort. This was my hand, my mercy, my breakthrough. My final decision isn't just to give you a moment of freedom, it's to deliver you into a future where the chains never return. For so long, you've walked through seasons where your sense of self was clouded by circumstances, blurred by what others projected onto you, and buried under survival. You began adapting to labels that didn't fit, roles that weren't yours, and expectations that drained your joy. You tried to hold everything together, often compromising who you really were just to avoid conflict, keep the peace, or prove your worth. Somewhere in the midst of it, the voice you once knew so clearly, your own voice, began to fade. You started to question your instincts, second-guess your decisions, and wonder if you even knew who you truly were anymore. But I've seen the real you the entire time. The version of you not defined by trauma, not shaped by rejection, not diminished by disappointment. I've seen the heart that kept loving even when it was wounded. I've seen the strength you didn't even know you had, the creativity that remained unspoken, the passion that flickered in the shadows. And now, I am reawakening it all. Not just reminding you of who you were, but reintroducing you to who I created you to be before the world taught you to shrink. This is not a recovery of what was lost. It is a revealing of what I've preserved. Beneath every layer the world placed on you, beneath every identity you wore to feel safe, your true self remained untouched by the lies. I placed my image in you, and no amount of pain or pressure can erase it. That's why you felt the shift within, a holy restlessness, a quiet knowing that there is more to you than what you've settled for. That nudge wasn't your imagination, it was my spirit stirring what I never let die. I'm calling you back to your original design. One who dreamed freely, moved boldly, trusted deeply. A one who didn't feel the need to dim their light to fit the room. I'm not just healing you so you can function, I'm restoring you so you can flourish. You will not spend your life trying to recover from who others convinced you to become. You will walk forward as the version of yourself that reflects me most fully. The sound of your voice will return not just in what you say, but in how you show up. There will be a new ease in your expression, because you will no longer feel like you have to earn your place. There will be a new joy in your decisions, because you will be moving from alignment, not fear. There will be a new confidence in your presence, because you will know that you are not an echo, you are a voice. You are not a copy, you are a creation. And you don't have to apologize for growing out of what you've outlived. I am releasing you from the masks, the performing, the exhausting efforts to meet standards I never set for you. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are not broken beyond recognition. You are exactly who I've been waiting to reveal for such a time as this. And those around you may not understand at first. They may miss the version of you that felt easier to control or quieter to contain. But I'm not calling you to be palatable, I'm calling you to be powerful. Not to please people, but to walk in purpose. I will surround you with those who celebrate your emergence, who see your light and don't try to dim it, who recognize your worth without you having to explain it. And even if it takes time for your outer world to match the transformation happening within, trust that I am walking you into alignment at every level. My decision isn't just to heal you, it's to reveal you. To reintroduce you to the world, but more importantly, to yourself. The self I designed, the self I delight in, the self that was never lost, only hidden beneath the weight of what you survived. You are no longer surviving. You are rising. And this rise begins with a reunion between you and the real you. That, beloved, is my final decision. There's a reason certain spaces feel too tight now. Why some conversations leave you restless. Why certain relationships feel strained though nothing outward has changed. You've tried to explain it, to make it make sense, to quiet the discomfort so you could keep everything as it was, but you can't. Not anymore. Because it's not something going wrong, it's something going right. You are growing. Not just emotionally, not just mentally, but spiritually. You've been stretched in silence. You've been pulled into deeper dimensions with me. Your discernment has sharpened. Your faith has expanded. And the places that once felt secure now feel suffocating, not because you're ungrateful, but because you've been prepared for more. I'm not punishing you by pulling you out of old spaces, I'm preserving you. You weren't meant to stay where you could no longer breathe. You weren't designed to thrive in environments that limit your voice, restrict your vision, or require you to shrink in order to stay. That's why I'm removing things. Not to hurt you, but to make room for alignment. It's not subtraction, it's space being created for what matches the version of you I've been building. You've outgrown dynamics where you were always the one pouring but never being poured into. You've evolved beyond relationships rooted in your past but resistant to your purpose. You've matured past the need to be constantly understood, choosing instead to be obedient even when it's lonely. And now, I am shifting everything to reflect that internal transformation. I'm not waiting for you to take the exit, I'm clearing the way for you to walk into rooms where your soul can breathe again, where your dreams don't sound too big, where your wisdom is received, not questioned, where your heart isn't treated as too soft but as sacred. What I'm bringing into your life now will not compete with your growth, it will complement it. It won't require you to suppress your sensitivity to keep the peace. It won't ask you to explain why you see deeper, or feel stronger, or move differently. You'll know you're in the right space when your presence doesn't feel like pressure, but peace. You'll recognize it by the ease, the lightness, the breath in your chest that says, "This is where I belong now." But to get there, I must release you from attachments that can't come with you. You've tried to carry everything out of love, out of habit, out of hope. But now I'm showing you the difference between loyalty and limitation, between covenant and comfort. Some things were beautiful for their season, but dangerous if held too long. Some people were your companions for the valley, but they can't climb with you to the next elevation. Don't mourn the loss of what was seasonal. Bless it, release it, and trust me to replace it with what's eternal. I'm sending voices that affirm your calling. I'm preparing atmospheres where your gift doesn't feel like a threat. I'm building spaces that don't tolerate your presence, they celebrate it. You're not hard to love, difficult to support, or impossible to align with. You just hadn't been in the right environment yet. But that changes now. I'm relocating your spirit into settings that are shaped for your growth, where you don't have to convince anyone to understand your depth, where your silence is respected and your insight is welcomed, where your vulnerability is seen as strength, not weakness. You'll feel the shift in your conversations, in your circles, in your dreams. Because I'm not just upgrading your surroundings, I'm honoring your stewardship. You didn't force the change. You followed my lead. You didn't chase the platform. You chased my presence. And now, the reward is a space where you can unfold without fear, expand without shame, and thrive without apology. This is not the end of what was, it's the beginning of what fits. My final decision is to plant you where you can breathe fully, live freely, and grow endlessly without needing to shrink, explain, or hide again. You've spent so much time trying to make sense of what didn't make sense, searching for the why behind the closed doors, replaying the moments you thought you got it right, only to be met with silence or redirection. You tried to trace every step, hoping that if you could just understand, the pain would feel more bearable, the confusion less loud, the questions less heavy. But child, you were never meant to carry clarity like a requirement. I never asked you to understand everything, I asked you to follow me. You've confused peace with explanation, but they are not the same. There are some things I will never explain, not because you don't deserve to know, but because your healing doesn't depend on answers, it depends on me. And I am not holding peace like a reward for your performance. I am offering it as an inheritance to your soul. The kind of peace that steadies you even when the details remain hidden. The kind of peace that silences storms inside of you, regardless of what happens around you. What I'm offering you now is a shift from needing control to embracing surrender. Because you've tried to figure it out long enough. You've worn yourself out searching for closure in places that were only meant to teach you how to trust. You've asked questions that had no answers because they were meant to lead you back to me, not forward into explanation. And now I'm inviting you to let go of your demand for certainty and pick up the gift of peace that surpasses understanding. Not a peace that waits for everything to make sense, but a peace that flows from knowing I already do. I've been ahead. I've seen what's next. I'm not nervous about your future. I'm not unsure about your direction. I don't need more time to think, I've already made my decision. And it's this: you will not be defined by confusion. You will be led by peace. Not the kind of peace that comes when circumstances are perfect, but the kind that walks into the unknown without fear. That is what I'm giving you now. The ability to rest in the middle of what you can't explain. The power to keep moving when the map isn't fully drawn. The confidence to say, I don't know what's next, but I know who goes with me. You've reached the edge of your reasoning, and that's where revelation begins. Because where your understanding stops, my presence remains. Where your logic ends, my faithfulness continues. You may never fully grasp why you had to lose what you did, why you had to be delayed, detoured, misunderstood, or broken the way you were. But here's what I promise. Nothing was wasted. Not one tear. Not one waiting room. Not one silent night where you wondered if I saw you. I did. And I was not just watching, I was working. Beneath the surface. Behind the scenes. Inside your spirit. And now I'm shifting the way you see. I'm teaching you to find security not in clarity, but in me. To stop chasing certainty and start choosing trust. You don't have to know how it will all unfold to walk forward in faith. I will not let you miss what I've called you to just because you can't see it clearly yet. I will lead you step by step. And with each one, peace will meet you. Not after the journey, but in it. This is what maturity looks like, not a perfect understanding of my ways, but a steady belief in my heart. To take the next step. Not because you have every answer, but because you trust the one who holds them all. I'm guiding you with gentleness now, not with a loud shout, but with a quiet pull. You'll know it by the stillness. You'll feel it in the release. You'll sense it as the weight you've carried begins to fall away, not because you've figured everything out, but because you've stopped needing to. My final decision is this. You don't have to understand everything to live in peace. You just have to trust me. And that trust, child, will carry you farther than answers ever could. You've spent so long in survival mode that you've forgotten what it feels like to live from a place of rest, not reaction. You became an expert in managing pain, adapting to disappointment, adjusting your expectations to avoid hurt. You moved with caution, not because you lacked faith, but because you were trying to protect what was left. Piece by piece, you held yourself together, brave on the outside, weary on the inside. You've learned how to function without fullness, how to smile while silently bleeding, how to keep going even when it felt like you had nothing left to give. But I never meant for survival to be your permanent rhythm. It was a season, not a sentence. A passage, not a destination. I allowed you to endure, not so that you would become numb, but so that you could be renewed. And now, I am shifting the way you move through the world. I'm transitioning you from defense to delight. From bracing for the worst to expecting my best. From constantly preparing for loss to making space for abundance. I'm not just bringing you out of the fire, I'm teaching you how to dance again, how to breathe without fear, how to embrace the days ahead without always waiting for something to go wrong. You see, I've watched you adjust yourself to survive spaces that weren't safe for your soul. I've seen you lower your voice in places where your spirit should have soared. I've witnessed you put aside your dreams just to keep the peace, just to make it through another day. But I didn't rescue you from the storm just so you could walk in its memory. I brought you out so you could live again. Really live. Not by looking over your shoulder. Not by constantly analyzing every step. But by trusting that you're no longer where you once were. That the danger has passed. That the worst is not ahead of you, it's behind you. That the ground beneath you is not fragile, it's firm, because I laid it. I'm teaching you how to live with open hands again. How to hope without hesitation. How to laugh without guilt. How to rest without fearing that something will fall apart the moment you exhale. You've been carrying tension in your body, in your thoughts, in your breath, always preparing for what could go wrong. But now, I'm inviting you into a life where you're no longer reacting to shadows. I'm calling you into sunlight, into warmth, into wide open space. This life won't feel familiar at first. The stillness will feel strange. These may feel suspicious, but give yourself permission to settle in. You're not here by mistake, you're here by design. I built the season for you, not just to repair what was broken, but to awaken what's been buried. Your creativity, your joy, your vision, your voice. All of it is safe now. All of it is welcome. You don't have to explain your survival story to everyone, and you don't need to justify why you're choosing peace over performance. This new way of living isn't about proving anything, it's about receiving what's always been yours, the freedom to be fully alive. Not bound by the past, not haunted by the former battles, but present. Oh, restored. I'm going to teach you how to enjoy life again, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally trust that I am. I'm going to show you what it means to thrive without pressure, to receive without guilt, to live without fear constantly whispering in your ear. I'm bringing color back into your world, laughter back into your days, wonder back into your eyes. And step by step, I'll show you how to live from overflow, not exhaustion. This is not just a new chapter. It's a new language for your soul. And I'm speaking it into you now. My final decision is this: you will no longer just survive. You will live. Fully. Freely. Fearlessly. Because with me, that's what you were always meant to do. You've spent years carrying the invisible weight of expectation, trying to be strong enough, kind enough, holy enough, consistent enough. You've worn masks not because you were fake, but because you feared that if people saw your weariness, your questions, your weakness, they'd think less of you. So you showed up, poured out, held it all together, even when your soul was unraveling behind the scenes. You kept smiling when your heart was aching. You kept serving when you were exhausted. You kept saying, "I'm fine," even when your silence was screaming for rest. I saw all of it. I never judged your struggle, I held space for it. But now I want to speak to the part of you that feels like it always has to be on. The part that equates being used by me with being useful to everyone. The part that confuses being fruitful with being flawless. Child, I did not create you to live under the weight of performance. I created you for communion, for connection, for trust. And what I'm doing in you now is unlearning the lie that your worth is tied to what you produce. You don't have to earn my affection. You don't have to impress me to remain chosen. I'm not moved by your output, I am moved by your heart. I'm not applauding your ability to keep going at the cost of your well-being. I'm inviting you into the rhythm of grace where you can simply be loved, seen, known. You are not a machine. You are not my project. You are my beloved. And I long for you to breathe again without guilt, to rest again without feeling lazy, to pause and not feel like you're falling behind. I want you to release the constant pressure to prove that you're enough. You already are. Because I said so. Before you ever did anything for me, I called you mine. And now, I'm peeling back the layers that pressure built around your soul. I'm healing the places where hustle became identity. I'm restoring the childlike wonder that was buried beneath busyness. I'm reminding you that even when you sit in stillness, you are saturated with purpose. You don't have to fight to stay relevant in my kingdom. You don't have to push to maintain your place. You are not one missed prayer away from losing my favor. You are not one burnt-out season away from disqualification. I'm not measuring your life by how many boxes you've checked. I'm holding your heart, and I know when it's tired. And when it is, I don't expect you to keep running. I expect you to return to me. You were never meant to carry more than your portion. You don't have to be everything for everyone. Let me be what you've tried to become. Let me fill in the gaps. Let me carry the things you silently took on because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. This next season will not be driven by pressure, it will be guided by peace. I'm going to show you how to build with balance, how to serve from overflow, how to create for rest, how to lead without losing yourself in the process. Because I want your soul to be whole, not just your schedule to be full. There is a version of you on the other side of burnout that you haven't met yet, rested, grounded, joyful, present. And I'm walking you there. Gently, lovingly, faithfully. You're not weak for needing rest, you're wise for receiving it. You're not broken for slowing down, you're brave for listening. And as you let go of the pressure to keep up, I will teach you how to move with grace. Step by step, breath by breath. No more masks. No more pretending. No more hiding. Just being with me. And in that being, you'll rediscover joy. My final decision is not based on what you do. It's rooted in who you are to me. And to me, you are enough even in your quietest, simplest, most human moments. You've known joy in moments fleeting, fragile, unpredictable. Times when the sun broke through and everything felt light, even if just for a little while. But far too often, the joy didn't last. Circumstances changed. Disappointment returned. The unexpected arrived like a wave crashing against what little peace you had built. And slowly, joy became something you hoped for but feared to hold. You smiled with caution, laughed with hesitation, and lived with the quiet belief that joy was a visitor, not a companion. But I never meant for joy to be that way for you. What I'm giving you now is different. It is not a joy based on what goes right. It's a joy rooted in who is with you. This joy isn't dependent on resolution. It's born of relationship yours with me. Because when your joy is built on me, no loss can erase it, no season can remove it, and no darkness can dim it. I'm anchoring you now in something deeper than happiness, something stronger than optimism. This joy doesn't ignore pain, it shines in it. It doesn't bypass grief, it sings through it. It isn't afraid of uncertainty, it dances in the middle of it. You've been waiting for life to stabilize so you could finally feel safe enough to rejoice. But child, joy isn't waiting for stability. Joy is waiting for surrender. It comes not when everything around you makes sense, but when your soul says, even now, I will trust him. That's what I'm anchoring inside you. A steady joy that holds even when everything else feels like it's falling. A joy that doesn't deny the existence of sorrow, but declares, sorrow will not define me. This isn't about pretending that everything is fine. I see the places where your heart still hurts. I know the prayers that haven't been answered yet. I know the ache that lingers in the quiet moments when no one else sees. And still I'm offering joy, not as a bandage but as a banner, a declaration over your life that says, this story will not end in despair. You see, joy is a weapon. It's a refusal to let the enemy have the last word. It's resistance against hopelessness. It's a sacred stance that says my soul is not for sale, and my future is not in ruins. This joy I give you is not something you muster up. It's something I place within. You don't have to fake it, you just have to receive it. It will come like a quiet warmth at first, a whisper in your spirit, a lifting in your chest. And as you welcome it, it will grow stronger. You'll find yourself laughing more freely, even in the middle of the unknown. You'll notice moments of beauty piercing through your routine. You'll find peace in places that used to hold only tension. And people will ask, how are you still smiling? You'll know it's not because everything is perfect. It's because I'm present. I'm not promising a life without hardship, but I am promising a heart anchored in joy that doesn't break when hardship comes. You'll still face trials, but you'll carry a light that trials can't extinguish. You'll still have battles, but you'll fight them with praise on your lips. This isn't a joy that waits for the finish line. It's a joy that travels with you every mile. From mountaintop to valley, from celebration to heartbreak, this joy walks beside you. It holds your hand. It lifts your eyes. It reminds you who you are and who I am. You no longer have to live with joy as a distant memory or a distant hope. You were made to dwell in it, to carry it, to be clothed in it. I am clothing you now in garments of praise, trading your heaviness for a lightness not rooted in denial, but in divine truth. You are safe to feel joy again. You are strong enough to hold it. You are ready to walk in it. Because this joy is not borrowed, it's built. And it's being established right now, in you by me. My final decision is this: your joy will no longer be momentary. It will be your foundation, your anthem, your strength, and no storm will steal it again. You've lived under the weight of clocks and calendars, measuring progress by what hasn't happened yet, by how long it's taken, by how far others have gone while you've waited. You've compared your pace to timelines the world said you should have followed by now. And somewhere along the way, time became a silent source of shame. You began to believe you were behind, that you missed something important, that you should have been further, happier, more established, more certain. You looked around and asked, did I delay something God was trying to do? And the enemy, always seeking access, whispered lies into those questions. You're too late. You're too old. You took too long. You wasted your moment. But today, I'm silencing that voice. Not with noise, but with truth. And here's the truth. I am not restricted by time, I redeem it. I am not comparing your journey to anyone else's. I'm not counting the years against you. I'm not measuring your purpose with a clock on the wall. I dwell in eternity, and yet I've chosen to step into your time, not to rush you, but to restore you. The years that felt silent, I was still shaping. The days that felt unproductive, I was still present. The seasons that felt wasted, I've already written them into something useful. Nothing is beyond my reach, not even time. And now I'm redeeming what you thought was too far gone. I'm returning moments that were stolen by distraction, by trauma, by delay. But I'm not simply giving them back as they were, I'm giving them back transformed, with new meaning, with deeper impact, with multiplied value. What took others 1 year may take you one step. What seemed delayed will now be accelerated. But the greatest miracle won't be in how quickly things shift, it will be in how at peace you are, no matter how long it takes. I'm healing the anxiety that made you believe you always had to catch up. I'm breaking the inner urgency that pressured you to perform just to feel like you were making up for lost time. I'm teaching you that you didn't lose anything I can't restore. When I redeem something, I don't rewind, I rebuild. Stronger, deeper, wiser, more grounded in me. You're not behind, you're being aligned. And soon, you'll walk in rooms, into relationships, into opportunities, and it will feel like everything is happening all at once. But you'll carry it differently. You won't rush through it. You won't question if you're ready. Because you'll know it wasn't about being early or late. It was about being in step with me. You see, the world measures time in seconds and years, but I measure it in seasons and surrender. And you surrendered. And it again. You've waited when you could have walked away. You've trusted me when you didn't understand. You've obeyed when it didn't seem logical. And now, you're stepping into what I've been preparing, not just around you, but inside of you. You'll no longer dread the passing of time, you will rejoice in the unfolding of my timing. You'll no longer chase deadlines, you will follow my lead. You'll stop obsessing over what didn't happen by now, and you'll start witnessing what only I could make happen now. I'm not in a hurry, but I'm not slow, either. I'm precise. And my precision is painting something in your life that will be undeniable. Others may look at you and ask, how did it all come together like that? And you will say, it with the hand of God, not the hands of a clock. I'm not just changing your circumstances, I'm changing your relationship with time itself. No more racing. No more regretting. No more rehearsing what could have been. It's time to live fully in the now, trusting that I hold every yesterday and every tomorrow, and I'm still faithful in both. My final decision is this: you didn't miss it. You're not behind. You're right on time for what I've designed, and I'm redeeming every moment to prove it. You've waited long enough thinking you still needed more time, more confirmation, more perfection before stepping into what I placed in your spirit. You've doubted your readiness, thinking you had to be more polished, more put together, more like someone else. You've rehearsed the fears. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if I'm misunderstood? But I am telling you now, the time for hesitation is over. Not because every detail is figured out, but because I have prepared you through every trial, every tear, every quiet obedience. You are not who you were when this began. You have grown even when you didn't feel growth. You have been strengthened even when all you felt was struggle. And now, I am calling you forward, not with pressure, but with purpose. You've been standing at the threshold, waiting for some external sign to push you forward, when all along I've been whispering inside you, move now, child. I'm with you. Your future is not an empty promise, it is a prepared place. I've already walked ahead of you into the days you haven't lived yet. I've gone into the meetings, the conversations, the decisions, and made a way. I've lined up divine connections. I've carved out provision. I've cleared out distractions. I've protected your path in ways you will never fully realize. But what matters most now is that you trust what I've placed inside of you. The gifts I've given you weren't random. The burdens you carry for others weren't imagined. The dreams that won't die are still breathing because they were born of me. And now, I am stirring you not with pressure to perform, but with passion to pursue what I've assigned. It's not about being perfect, it's about being willing. It's not about never feeling afraid, it's about walking anyway. I am giving you a boldness now that doesn't come from hype, but from holy clarity. A boldness that speaks truth gently but unshakably. A boldness that serves without losing identity. A boldness that chooses purpose over popularity. I am not asking you to be loud, I am asking you to be light. To step forward knowing you are covered, and knowing you are equipped. Knowing you are not an imposter in the space I've called you to. You don't need to shrink. You don't need to hide. You don't need to keep asking if it's really your time. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. You're not stepping forward to prove anything. You're stepping forward to obey. And in your obedience, I will do what only I can do. I will multiply your effort. I will open the right doors. I will silence the wrong voices. I will surround you with what you need, and remove what you don't. I will give you words when you feel empty. I will give you strength when you feel small. You are not walking alone. I am walking within you. The boldness I give doesn't rush, it moves with intention. It isn't reckless, it's rooted. Rooted in the truth of who I say you are, not in what others expect you to be. And that truth will carry you into rooms that once intimidated you. It will empower you to take steps that once felt too big. It will allow you to face what once paralyzed you. Because this time, you're not walking in your own name, you're walking in mine. So don't delay. Don't retreat. Don't hold back what I've refined. The process wasn't just to teach you, it was to transform you. And now, the future you feared is becoming the promise you walk in. Not because everything around you says go, but because everything in me says it's time. You were made for this moment. You were created for such a time as this. And I'm not sending you in blind, I'm sending you in blessed. Heaven. Gold. Amen. My final decision is this. You are ready. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. And as you move, watch what I do through you, around you, and for you. Because this future has already been prepared. And now, so have you. Amen.